Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, a specter haunts the feminist movement, and that specter is the illusion of independence in the guise of selfishness, in the guise of false autonomy. We believe that no woman is an island and there is no specific path in order to be able to be happy. We particularly have to understand that the feminist movement is not a monolith. There is no formula or path to be able to follow in order to truly live a fulfilling and happy life, because the feminist movement, as a collective and as a function of individual women and sects, exist on a spectrum of capacity, means, and motivation. That is to say, some women are born because of the birth lottery into rich and privileged developed countries, while some are more disenfranchised, born into a minority, or are currently struggling in a developed country. A lot of what you get on side government is not nuanced to the rise. They merely explain why the sect is valid and should exist. This is me burden pushing them to not just have their cake and eat it too, and be able to respond to that idea I brought to you in my POI, which is that there are some women who want to be able to be wives and mothers, and the point in which you support the rise of this sect of you can go your own way invalidates and makes it harder for those who don't want to opt into those particular things. A few key points of framing in this round. Number one, we do not support the rise of the sect, but make no mistake, this debate is not about whether the sect is good or bad. The previous speaker was not nuanced to the rise, and we need to particularly talk about that. Number two, we think that this particular rise particularly harms women because we agree that yes, they're oppressed. Yes, there are oppressive structures and reforms, but we need to be able to take a look at where the feminist movement currently is at. It's 2025. We're in the 21st century, postmodern feminism, wherein we have huge amounts of intersectionality, ladies and gentlemen. It exists on a spectrum. Some women are more conservative because they live in a particular patriarchal society. Some women want to strive and do that girl boss independent stuff. And some women are a bit more on the fence about particular things. And other women are also a bit more radical with things like lipstick feminism, etc. We need to understand that the movement is not just this sect, but multiple different sects with conflicting interests. That is to say, the point in which you highlight this sect and support the rise makes it particularly harmful for these other sects to coexist, at the point in which you say that the only way in order to truly be happy is going your own way and reaching all that girl boss feminism things. The unique harm of the rise to the sect is particularly going your own way, and this ultimately leads to a very skewed sense of what it means to be happy and independent. The harm here is that you ultimately invalidate women who cannot be able to opt into it because of those oppressive structures you characterize, and also women who don't want to be able to opt into it, the ones I referred to in my POI. The answer of the previous speaker was very dismissive. They're like, yeah, we can do all of these things. But that's not the point. The nuance to when you create the rise is that this becomes particularly the algorithm on social media or the primary battering cry that they use in their things to be able to ascribe what you should do. It particularly is harmful. What is our counterfactual, to be very clear? We do not support the rise, but in fact, we do support and recognize that yes, these are valid choices, but we do not want to harm the individual women in that sect or the feminist movement as a particular whole. What do we want to be able to forward? We want to support sects that have a wider intersectionality, that focus on common strengths and struggles, as opposed to the minority of women who might be empowered by all that girl boss stuff. I have a very simple intuition. Think about the top 10 women in your life, whether they're your mom, your sister, your girlfriend, your friend, etc. How many of them probably want to get into a relationship and get married? I'm pretty sure that is the majority of particular women. The point in which you focus solely on the minority and say that that is the way to go harms the capacity of people to be able to do that. What is my argument? My argument is that We don't want to make it harder for women to be able to be happy, and we want to be able to get that long-term change. Specifically, I'm going to be able to answer the question, why do we want to be able to not support this particular sect, and how are women on average as an individual and as a collective of the movement able to get happy? The first thing I have to say is that the harm when you forward the rise of this thing is that you frame things as in-groups and out-groups. You frame it as the individual versus that of the collective. Meaning, in order to truly be happy, you have to opt out of the collective society you currently are in, or the point in which you do not have a particular collective or society, you ultimately are not inclined to be able to do that. The harm there is that it makes it particularly difficult to be able to find support groups, because now you have multiple women who are hustling and bustling, finding their own path, not doing this whole sense of community or family. That uniquely makes it harder to be able to find a support system. The second harm is that it washes away patriarchal, conservative, and oppressive structure responsibility. I agree with Prime Minister that we want long-term change, but the point in which that burden is solely placed on the woman and her capacity to be able to get out of that system is the point in which there is even more anxiety, more depression, and more pressure to be able to have to do it. Like I said in my pre-oration, women are motivated differently. Some women have a thicker skin and have the capacity to do that. But some other women, mothers, etc., wives, want to be able to be within that. And the point in which you create this rise of that, you put so much tension in these groups and you create infighting. The last harm and impact here is that you radicalize the movement even more, the point in which you focus on that sole independent path ascribing particular happiness, as opposed to doing something that is more intersectional, that caters to a wider degree of support. What have we told you so far? We told you so far the unique harms of forwarding this idea of supporting the rise, as opposed to other alternatives which have better intersectionality and help more women on the average. We are very happy to stand on side opposition.